What I said was before Lucille puts her hand up, just respectfully, what I was asking was if either of you address that series of questions and also the role of URA. I wanted this brother before he leaves, and Lucille, you get to this gentleman who has how many years of history is dealing with this question?
Yeah, it's 2025.
I wanted you to share while the council people were in the house and the rest of the council, the historic angle, because this is part of the frustration that you all need to know and get the atmosphere when he's going to summarize. But can you all share a response to her point? And particularly, is there a possibility of a liaison between the community and URA? And can you clarify the role of URA? Because I'll have to admit, as an African American who's been in the city all my life, I lived 9 months, you always hear that there's a grand scheme, a grand plan, and the issue of Homer being one of the finest areas of the city. And whether that's out, there's some great plans. I think we need to resolve those kinds of questions and concerns, and then we'll go to Lucille.
I cannot address all of our concerns. I will tell you again, I'm a process guy. So what I suggest is still the same thing. One of the reasons that I funded an organization that I hope would be the collaboration of all the economic development groups is so that they would set up these community-based committees or structures where residents can have some input in the development process. We did Bridging the Busway in Homewood. We did the Larmer Vision to Action Plan in Larmer. So the process becomes create a development plan, create an entity that has some power in order to help galvanize the community into some collaborative where it can begin to make decisions as to what is the best and highest use of the property. So when she talks now, I thought I did see her. I think there's a third conversation that's separate from these conversations. The whole idea of creating this urban agenda is a different, overarching conversation that we absolutely need to engage in. You know I believe that. But that is the QRA question. There is no this belief that there is this great and grand strategy for Homewood is not true. Let me start.
I'll let the councilman finish his spot.
When I first came to council, there was no plan for Homewood. There was none. There was an old development plan that HBRCC had did, 10 years ago, 15 years ago? There was no current plan. The Bridging the Busway plan is not a full-fledged development plan, but it is a roadmap to what the interim development strategy in some key places can be. There is a need, I believe, and I think you would agree with me, bro, there is a need for a more comprehensive Homewood plan, which we do not have yet. So, and I guess you walked away. But my point is, it seems to me that her conversation about having a liaison between the URA, I'm not sure what she wants to do with it. Certainly there's going to be a local entity that's going to work to try to do development. I think we already have community-based organizations.
Work with us before you come to a meeting and say this is going to be planned. Give us a chance to say what we want in our spot.
And I've been saying that, in my opinion, that's why I believe that having the Economic Development Collaborative is the vehicle to do that.
the economic development is collapsed.
Yes.
Which does not exist.
Does not exist at the moment.
And just to clarify, economic development collaborative would allow that kind of thing.
That's exactly right.
We have a conversation that he's based in reality. From 1940, Homewood had 31,260 residents. Today there's about 6,442. 57% of the properties in Homewood are tax delinquent. One of the most powerful things people can do if they're concerned about Homewood is pay your doggone taxes. Okay? Now, and it goes on. So, let me see. I got the number. 676 of the properties in 2010. 676 are owned by the county and or the city. Real number. Let me see. Vacancy, 1,324 residential addresses are vacant in 2010. That's 30% of the properties are vacant. In 2010, we did the 1,000 conversations. I'm John Wallace, board president of Operation Medlock, pastor of Bible Center Church. We bought over 24 properties in Homewood. We pay our taxes. We own the former Rite Aid building, and on and on and on. But the point is, let's have a conversation based in reality. My brother here was talking about they've actually assessed properties and figure out what it takes to put money back into a property, bring it back online. You're not going to have 31,000 people in Homewood again. Let's look at the properties that are salvageable. A sheet of drywall costs, Rashad, how much sheet of drywall? $8. It's $8 whether you put it in Homewood or you put it in Mount Lebanon. It's $8. So let's just be real about what's salvageable in a systematic, disciplined kind of way. Go into property. That's simple. Is it salvageable? Does it make sense to put time, energy back into it? You're not going to have 31,000 people again. Let it go. And this whole flat thing, they got a place called Mount Washington. People pay to be on mountains. The fact that Homewood is flat, nobody cares. It's Pittsburgh. We've adjusted the hills. Okay? So let's just base all of this in reality and stop with these sort of blanket pronouncements about don't do this, do this. Base it on analysis of actual conditions. 57% of the properties are tax delinquent. Whatever's owned by the city needs to be taken care of and so forth. But let's do a sophisticated job of making this an amazing community for all of us.
We live here. We are reality. Who needs reality? We are here at the library as their guests. My understanding is you go to my house. I'm just saying that we are already over time. And so I'm going to ask us the questions. I'd like for us not to make more statements. We got most of the information out that we didn't get out.
I would like to ask my question.
So hold on. I'd like to get questions.
These are people that don't live in the community. Thank you for having this meeting. Thank you, Councilman, for doing this. We own 26 properties in Homewood.
Yes.
Well taken care of. Our properties, as you know, I presented it in council, no one else was there, was rezoned without our permission. We were never even told that they were going to be rezoned. Legislation came in November 2012, 13th and 12th ward was taken over by the city. So the city has all that property already. You can just go to the county and see that. What I'm asking you to do, because we've already been approached, you and I have had this personal conversation. Our community center has been there for 20 years.
Yes.
I have walked the streets for 24 years with building inspectors. They have come to us and asked us to sell the only community center in the community to people outside of the community. So I can't leave here and not share it. I will share that privately because that's another situation. No, the building, we have walked the floor with now. Everybody has, I presented this to city council. I'll send it to anybody. I've shared it with Councilman Paduda, who attended the meeting, and I hope you'll come to the meeting we haven't heard from you yet. But we need equitable conversation, not just a public meeting for all of us to spout off and then somebody go back and say, there was a public hearing. I see two white people on Channel 13 saying the community is behind it. You don't know who's behind it. I'm not behind anything I don't really know about if you're asking me to sell. I mean, the properties were brought right up under the very playground. First playground we had in 40 years. City bought those properties that's contiguous to ours. We were never informed of that. So what I'm asking, Councilman, is that you begin to have a legitimate mechanism to communicate with us in the community, not just call us together like people on a plantation together and share property. The right way, and that hasn't happened as of yet. I'm very curious because we sat here and Bethany, I've traveled to, before you arrived, I've traveled to Philadelphia with the city, the URA, and everywhere else to talk about it. Philadelphia has a line item, you know, so we're not even talking about that. But because it's hard, I'm not going to take that much more time, but I don't know about that group you talking about bringing together. That's another. We got track after track after track. How many tracks are we going to go down? We don't go down the track with HB this and HB that. We need you to lead this process. And we need help knowing what's going on before we get there. This is a heavy agenda.
Yeah.
And we don't understand all that stuff you said. I clearly understand because I've been at the table with you guys for several years before anybody else came to the table. Diane Swan and Rosedale was at the table years ago. So I'm not asking, you're not trying to be polite. But what we need is equitable communication and better information. That's all we're asking.
Did you get an answer to why were we done all of this?
We never, I presented that to City Council January the 29th. And I presented City Council.
January 29th of this year?
Yes.
And you never got it?
No.
Do you know?
I presented it to him.
Yeah.
Hold on.
And I submitted it again, asking him to attend the meeting 3 weeks ago.
Okay.
Today I submitted it again. We haven't heard anything. It's a very critical issue because we have early childhood programs up here. We create jobs. The crime is down and has been down for 20 years in that quarter. 95%. So when I sit around and talk about what people about to do, we do it. So I want to hear about how you want to share our communication with each other. I've been quiet for several years.
So,
The end.
that's